Hey class, today we will be learning about order of operations. So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to simplify expressions that contain multiple operations with positive integers. First, what are the order of operations? The order of operations are the rules we follow when simplifying expressions with more than one operation. The reason why we have these rules and what order to do operations in is so that everyone gets to the same answer. For example, if we had an expression that had both multiplication and addition in it, we need to make sure that everyone multiplies before they add so that we get the same answer. Because if one person added first and one person multiplied first, we would get different answers. So that's why we have these order of operations. It's the order in which we do our operations in a problem. So the order that we go in is parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, which get done left to right, and addition and subtraction, which also get done left to right or as they appear. The reason why multiplication and division and addition and subtraction get done from left to right is because they're inverse operations or opposite operations of each other. So we always do them as they appear in the problem from left to right. Another important thing to note is parentheses includes all grouping symbols. Okay, so let's take a little bit more of a look at that. So parentheses, our first operation that we have to do in expressions, include all grouping symbols. Parentheses are used to group operations. So in this problem here, you see these parentheses are being used to group 8 minus 3. So we have to do everything inside those parentheses before we can add that 15. So we would do 8 minus 3 is 5, and then add the 15 to get our final answer as 20. Other grouping symbols include things, if we go back up, include braces, brackets, and of course, absolute value bars. Okay, so absolute value bars are grouping symbols and get treated like parentheses where we have to simplify everything inside them before we move on with our other operations. Another grouping symbol is a fraction bar. A fraction bar actually groups the numerator, so the top expression, and the denominator, the bottom expression. So when we have a fraction bar, which means to divide, we actually have to simplify the top, simplify the bottom, and then we will divide at the end. And you'll see when we do some examples. So again, the order in which we do our operations, parentheses, which includes parentheses, braces, brackets, absolute value bars, and our fraction bar. Then we have exponents, multiplication and division, which gets done left to right, and addition and subtraction, which also gets done left to right. Now that we know the order of our operations, let's look at some examples and simplify expressions using our order of operations. So number 1 says 17 plus 3 times 4 minus 20 divided by 2. So first things first, I'm going to see if there's any grouping symbols or parentheses. There are parentheses right here, but these parentheses are just telling us that we need to multiply that by 3. Because there's nothing to simplify inside the expressions, it just says 4, so we don't have to do anything with that. So if there are no grouping symbols, let's move on to exponents. Well, there are no exponents, so let's move on to multiplication and division. There is both multiplication and division in this problem, and remember that multiplication and division gets done from left to right, so I'm going to start with the operation that appears first in my problem. So if I'm going left to right, I hit the 3 times 4 first. So I'm going to do 3 times 4, which is 12. And I'm going to bring down everything else that I haven't simplified or solved yet. So now I have 17 plus 12 minus 20 divided by 2. So now I'm going to do my division. So everything else gets brought down, 17 plus 12 minus, and now I'm going to do 20 divided by 2 is 10. So now I have all addition and subtraction. So like multiplication and division, addition and subtraction also gets done left to right. So I'm going to add 17 plus 12 to get 29. and then bring down my minus 10. And then 29 minus 10 is going to give me 19, which is my final answer. So I followed my order of operations to get 19. Let's look at number 2. Number 2 says 24 plus 16 divided by 8 times 2. But the 24 plus 16 is in parentheses. So if we look at our order of operations, it says to do parentheses first. So we're going to simplify everything inside the parentheses. Well, 24 plus 16 is going to give us 40. And then we bring down our divide by 8 and times 2. Now we have division and multiplication left. Well, that gets done in order from left to right. So we're going to divide first because it appears first. And 40 divided by 8 is 5. And then we're going to bring down the multiply by 2. And then 5 times 2 is 10. All right, let's look at some other examples before I let you try on your own. Number 3 says 24 plus 2 squared times 3. Remember that little dot means multiply. So times 3 divided by 6. All right, well, we don't have any grouping symbols, so we're going to move to exponents. There are exponents. We have 2 squared, or 2 to the power of 2, which tells me to take my base and multiply it by itself 2 times. So 2 squared is really 2 times 2, which is 4. So I'm going to replace 2 squared with 4 and bring everything else in my expression down because I haven't done it yet. So 24 plus, now 4 times 3 divided by 6. Now I need to look at my multiplication and division. There's multiplication and division, but the multiplication appears first, so I'm going to multiply first. So I'm not touching the 24, so I'm just bringing it down. And then 4 times 3 is 12, and then bring down the divide 6. Now I can do my division, so I'm just going to bring down my 24 plus because I haven't added yet. And then 12 divided by 6 is 2. And now I'm just left with addition, so 24 plus 2 is 26. Let's look at number 4. Number 4 says the quantity 8 minus 5 squared divided by, or all over, 2 plus 1. So I need to do what's inside my parentheses first. So 8 minus 5 is 3. And then I need to remember that exponent goes right above it. All over 2 plus 1. And I can actually simplify the bottom. 2 plus 1 is 3. Right? The fraction bar separates or groups the top from the bottom. So I'm simplifying those expressions separately. So I'm simplifying the top and I'm simplifying the bottom. Well, 2 plus 1 is only addition, so I know I can write 3. All right, now I have 3 to the second power divided by 3. Well, 3 to the second power, or 3 squared, is saying 3 times 3, right? Take that base and multiply it by itself that many times, which in this case is twice. So 3 times 3 is 9, and then all over 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. All right, I want you to pause the video and try number 1 and 2 on your note page. All right, take a moment, check your answers with mine, pause the video if you need to. Now I want you to try number 3 and 4. All right, check your answers and your work with mine. If you got one wrong, try again, pause the video, try again, and then recheck your work with mine and find your mistake. And that's all we have for today's lesson, so hopefully you know how to simplify expressions with more than one operation. Have a good one.